Welcome back, you lovely people. It's been a while, a couple of weeks with the bank holiday last week. So I hope you're all doing amazing. I had quite a few messages today and last week saying how much people were missing this session, which was honestly really heartwarming because, as we all know, there's a lot of drama going on in the world at the moment. For anybody that follows me on social media, you know pretty much where I stand and all of that. But one of the things that's really frustrating for me is thinking about everybody's mental health. So to get those messages saying that people missed this session last week, implies that this session has been an important part of the last couple of months, and that is really beautiful to hear. So thank you for the support. And this has really been a privilege and really powerful for me as well. So let's keep it up. Let's bring it home. About 5 months left. And let's do a little market update. So Bitcoin is flat essentially today. Now, we were pushing the all-time high earlier today, and we've just pulled back a little bit. That's cool. That's just more consolidation under the all-time high. I'm expecting when we do get the breakout, and it's going to be quite dramatic. I was, given that I have been pretty on the money so far with my predictions, I will say that I had anticipated that the next leg up was going to happen around the beginning of April, and now we're pushing into mid-April. So we've been delayed a little bit based on what I was initially modeling. But in hindsight, given that we were running so far ahead of schedule, the cycle repeat graph was showing $750,000 at some point and more, then we have really fallen back in line into where we expected to be on our previous predictions. Still a little bit ahead somewhat. So I think the cycle repeat graph is currently showing around $400,000 by the peak, which would obviously, I'm sure we would all be very, very happy with. So that all makes sense in hindsight. It looks like we are, looks like we're about to take off, Can't say whether that's going to happen tomorrow, Wednesday, end of the week, weekend. But we are right there. There seems to be a lot of pressure to the upside. As soon as it gets released, then I think we're going to fly. And I've also been thinking about this week is really the start of the Q1 earnings for public companies. So their results from January to March. Some are happening this week, but really the bulk happen going into next week and the week after. So let's call it the next 3 weeks. And it is my belief, and we'll know this very soon, that a large handful of those companies are going to announce that they've bought Bitcoin. There is a lot of rumors going around about Walmart having purchased $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, rumor at this stage. And, would it surprise anybody if Netflix or Spotify, what if Google had bought $2-3 billion worth of Bitcoin? So I think we're going to see some of that. It'll be really interesting to see which companies pulled the trigger. But that is all happening over the remainder of April. And I think that's going to really, I think we're going to break out, like I said, this week into the weekend. And then that real surge up to, I believe, $90,000 to $95,000. A lot of other analysts are predicting $70,000, $80,000. I think we're going higher than that on this leg. I think that will be driven by these public companies buying Bitcoin. So we will know really, really soon, and that is exciting. But looks bullish. You know, Chainlink had a big day yesterday and is retracing a little bit. Absolutely fine. ETH's just hanging in there around its all-time high. Big news today: Binance Coin, or Binance, announcing that they are adding stocks and shares backed tokens. So for example, Tesla, so you wouldn't need to buy the Tesla shares, you can buy a Tesla token. That's huge news. Binance was up 20% earlier today, and now it's about 10%. Notice how I flipped on Binance. I was bearish initially when we started talking about it. As soon as I started to realize what was happening and what they were doing and how innovative they were being, I turned bullish, and that was, you know, quite a while ago now, and the price has been fantastic. So well done to those that got in. Well done to me. I like to see some of these pockets of strength. You know, the graphs up 8%, makers up 8%, some of the ones we've been talking about. So yeah, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. It's looking really, really strong. And it's, as Elon Musk would say, it is inevitable. So let's just be patient and see when it happens. I'm sure you'll wake up one day and Bitcoin will be up 10%, and then we'll be well on our way. Right, so I'm going to get to some questions. Do put them in the chat on Zoom or on, what's that, Instagram. And I will make my way through them. I believe I was sent a couple as well. I'll just start with that. Michael literally just sent me one or a couple, thank you. So I'll start with that. Right, best platforms for margin and leverage trading. Funnily enough, I've been doing a lot of one-to-one coaching over the past few weeks on leverage and margin trading. People looking to borrow fiat currency to buy more crypto. Risky, but also can make sense in this environment if you are looking to take on risk. So yeah, FYI, I have been doing one-to-one sessions particularly on that, because it's a bit tricky to set up. So anybody reach out if they would like to do that. And we are using Binance. Binance has all the capability, and most of this community's assets are on Binance. So it makes a lot of sense. And that's what I would recommend. As you know, I recommend Binance. Does the increasing Binance and Binance Smart Chain utility change the outlook for DOT and others? So Michael's saying that there are some incredible blockchains that are doing amazing things, like Binance. When you say others, I don't know. I know there are many others, but for example, Cardano is not really doing anything. So I believe the good ones will coexist. And Ethereum is set. Ethereum's really, you know, the backbone of the crypto world. And I don't believe that will change. Binance is adding a lot of utility, which is fantastic. Polkadot is really going to be built around being interoperable with all of the blockchains. And I am potentially more bullish on Polkadot than anything else when we're talking about blockchains. They are doing something very, very innovative. And you're going to see some big moves in Polkadot this summer. If you like the technology, I would recommend researching Kusama and Polkadot. Given the length of the Bitcoin consolidation, are we still tracking for a 4 to 5 week pullback, as you have mentioned in the past? That's a great question. I've been talking about that a lot with people this week. And I do expect that. What I said at the beginning of this session, yes, we are having a long consolidation, but we're just falling in line with the last cycle. since December, January, we went up really, really quick. Really, really quick. We weren't supposed to go up that quick. A lot of that was due to Tesla and Elon Musk. And we're now consolidating back in line of where we expected to be. And where we expect to be next is to make our next leg up. I put it at $90,000. And then not many analysts are talking about this. So they might get caught by surprise if it happens. I'm fully expecting a 4 to 6 week pullback. Call it a mid-cycle, mid-bull market correction. It happened in the last cycle. It was 5 weeks, it was 38%. It happened in the first cycle, it was 2 months, and it was 65%. Now, I don't expect it to be that deep. That was an anomaly because it was the first cycle and we'd gone up really, really quickly. I'm expecting a 4 to 6 week 35 to 40% correction. That is still my base case. Good questions, Michael. Thank you. I had a couple of others here, but I think Juan and Fabian, I think you might be here. So I'll start working my way through because you might have asked them in the chat as well. Joshua, regarding Ethereum, are the delays in ETH 2.0 and the high gas fees affecting the market sentiment and ultimately the price? We have talked about that in many of the other calls, and I think it was affecting the price. And there has been a lot more bullish sentiment around Ethereum. Ethereum 2.0 is coming in a year or so, so I wouldn't really focus on that. But they are making smaller improvements over the next couple of months. That's showing good progress. There are level 2 solutions coming for their high gas fees, which are going live over the next few months. I think people are starting to see the roadmap, and there is more bullish sentiment around Ethereum, which is why Ethereum is now making new all-time highs. So I think that sentiment is shifting as we speak. Ethereum led the way on Saturday, I think, right? Ethereum was at 6-7%. So that sentiment looks to be changing. By the way, I know I need a haircut, all right? So I'm gonna try and make that happen tomorrow. I know what you're all thinking. Dominic, March prediction was 80K, currently around 60K for Bitcoin. Therefore, do you think our September estimate will decrease? Yeah, I did say 80K by end of March. That was just because we were so far ahead of schedule. And again, it's what I said at the beginning of this session. We're consolidating before. We haven't made that leg up to 80K yet. It was 80K. I'm now saying 90K based on new numbers. We just haven't done it yet. So I expect that we're going to do it over the next couple of weeks. September estimate, I don't believe it will decrease at the moment because what that is based on is the last cycle, and we are still ahead of the last cycle. If we start falling behind the last cycle, then it will decrease, but we are certainly not doing it at the moment. If big corporations know about the 4-year cycle, why would they not invest next year instead? There's a couple of points there. Many big corporations don't know about the 4-year cycle. So don't assume that because you understand it, then other people understand it. I've been saying for a while that is yours and our leg up. That's how we get to benefit and be the smart money, you know, be the ones that are in there first before the big corporations. If the big corporations knew about the 4-year cycle, they'd have been in 18 months ago, right? So They don't know about the 4-year cycle. And even those that do, corporations don't short-term trade. So in the bear market, we'll probably go down back to about $60,000 or $70,000. Well, they're buying now, right? And they're holding forever. Michael Saylor is never selling his Bitcoin. So whether they know about it or don't know about it, it actually doesn't impact us whatsoever. The only thing that impacts us is they buy and the price goes up. I'm well placed for this cycle, and I am thinking ahead to the next. I want to adopt a dollar cost average strategy. When is the best time to start this? Great question. That is, I do cover that briefly in the course, but I will be covering that in depth in the 2022 Bitcoin playbook. That's what it's all going to be about. We're looking for the bear market, as you're well on the ball here. Historically, it's been about 15 months after the peak, so we'll be waiting out that 80% correction. And as we find some sort of bottom, I think it will probably be dropping from 300,000 to 60,000, something like that. But we'll refine that as we get closer. Then you can dollar cost average at that point over 6 to 12 months, knowing that you're getting a price of $60,000 to $70,000, and it's going up to $6 or $7 million in 2025. One of the best tools for what you're talking about is the stock to flow model, because you're looking for I think it's green. I always get this wrong. The green dots. I'm just going to check that. I'll post it as well. If you haven't looked at the stock to flow model before, then definitely do that. What's really handy about it is the colors, because it's going to quite neatly show us when the bottom of the bear market is. At that point, you can start averaging them. I'll find that as I'm speaking. If Bitcoin was to drop off a cliff now, how would we know that that is it and not the 40% dip? So you're talking about if the model was to break right now, this was the top. And you wouldn't know that. You'd only know that once you were down 80%. So, unfortunately, there's no way of you knowing 100% what is going to happen in the future of Bitcoin. So that's why we do our analysis. And that's why we put all the work in to make the best educated decisions possible. And that's why we've been so successful so far. The stock to flow model is the green. You're going to be looking for the green dots around the end of 2022. So let me just come back to that. Dominic, you wouldn't know, but you would find out when you were down 80%, and you would realize that all of our analysis has been incorrect. That's what would happen. Fortunately for us, up to this point, all of our analysis has been on point. So therefore, it is then everybody makes this risk-reward decision about whether you want to continue with the model and with the analysis up to cycle peak. If you get, if you take your profits now, then you remove your risk, right? It's as simple as that. Is there going to be a dip next year? What are the chances of this not happening? I don't really understand that question. Definitely go and watch the course if you haven't, because that lays out exactly what we're expecting this year. It gives some forward guidance for 2022. And And like I said, the 2022 Bitcoin playbook will lay out exactly how we're going to manage 2022. Alex, if at the peak you are lucky enough to get a price of 296, very specific, I know that's my number, does that mean the exchanges match you with somebody who wants to buy at 296? Or does the exchange just quote a price and they must therefore fill it? Yeah, it's the former. So every time you buy, or in this case, sell Bitcoin, there is somebody else on the other side of the trade. Binance or Coinbase or Kraken or Gemini, they're just a broker. They don't, for what we're talking about, they don't hold the crypto. They're just negotiating for you between the buyers and the sellers. You know, this is just a market square when buyers and sellers are coming together, and Binance are the referee, essentially. So I think what you're getting at is, if I tried to sell my Bitcoin at 296,000, who the hell is going to buy it off me, right? And luckily, the crypto market is very, very liquid. That means there's a lot of buyers and there's a lot of sellers, and one's always right and one's always wrong. That's the beauty of the free market. And if you sell at the very peak, you are selling to somebody else and you've got it right and they've got it wrong. The reason why they would buy it off you is because they disagree with you and they think it's going to 1 million. And that's what I've told you is going to happen. People, when we get to that number, will believe that it's going to 1 million. So they'll be very happy to buy it off you for $296,000. Is gold or silver a good investment for the next 2 years ahead of BTC? Well, from today, no, because we're in the Bitcoin bull market. Nothing will outperform Bitcoin. But from the Bitcoin cycle peak, then I can't say for sure, of course, but I believe gold and silver is going to be a fantastic investment in that period of time. All of the macro factors are in play for gold and silver, and they're being held back at the moment. You know, they're not moving as expected for various reasons we won't get into, but that can only last for so long. And I actually have a thesis which all of this crypto money will flood out of crypto around September and into precious metals, and then precious metals will fly. Maybe that's me hoping that that's what's going to happen, but I can see that. Maria, I'm very new to this game. Well, welcome. We're all new at some point, so don't worry about that. I've watched your playbook and it was incredible. Thank you. I was going to say I won't mention the numbers, but you've wrote it publicly anyway, so it sounds like you're comfortable. I have 4 ETH currently. I have about 20,000 in savings. And since watching your videos, I want to invest in Bitcoin ASAP. Would you recommend I put it all into Bitcoin or also more of ETH, considering that is set to go up more? I always recommend, especially for somebody that's very new, that you have at least 51% in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the #1 investment. I would certainly make sure you have a really, really good allocation to Bitcoin first and foremost. Fantastic that you're already in Ethereum. So well done. I bought my crypto with crypto.com. You never mention it. What are your thoughts on it? I never mention it because I don't recommend it. I've had some negative feedback about crypto.com. So yeah, it's not on my recommended list. Cal, thank you. Really appreciate that. We had a really good session last week. Dominic, if we're going up steeper than 2017, and how will you know if it is going to crash sooner or go up higher? That's a really good question. the main indicator that we have is the price action. So what happens during the cycle peak is that the price goes vertical. The price has been going up a lot to right now, right? We've gone from 4,000 to 60,000. Everybody's saying it's been going up a lot, but there's a big difference between what we've done and what happens during the last month. And to know what I'm talking about, you just have to go and look at the chart of 2017 or 2013 and look at the peak and look at the last month and see that the price is essentially doubling or more in the last 3 weeks or so, right? So the price starts to go parabolic. And for somebody that has done the research, that should be quite noticeable because it's different to what's happening now. Also combined with the euphoria in the media and social media. And there's a particular moment in time or a couple of weeks where it's absolute crypto and Bitcoin mania. And the price is probably going from, say, 175,000 to 350,000 in a couple of weeks, right? So when we start to see that, that's a bubble. That's, reaching unsustainable levels. Combined with timing, we know we're looking around September-ish. Then we should have a feel for when we're approaching the peak. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that's why we're doing the work now. That's why I'm doing the videos every day. That's why I'm spending all of the time on it. That's why I'm talking to you about it, because it helps reinforce things for me. So that's what we're preparing for. Justina, what do you think about VET? Had another look at it today briefly because I know everybody keeps mentioning it. And I definitely more bullish having looked at it again. I kind of disregarded it because I'd heard some negativity around it. But look, supply blockchains is going to be absolutely massive. And you don't need to do a lot of work to figure out how critical blockchain is going to be to the global supply chains. So huge opportunity. I haven't done the work to compare the chain to the other supply chains like Wabi and Unibright. I know Unibright are partnering with Coca-Cola, so that's a big positive for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justina, but I believe I saw VeChain linked with vaccine passports or track and trace, and that's a red flag for me morally, if I'm correct on that, but I might not be. So before investing, I would be looking into that more deeply, because I wouldn't invest in that from a moral standpoint. But I may have got that wrong. I haven't looked into it deeply. Supply chains is a massive opportunity. Alex, would you recommend leveraging now this far into the cycle? Will you record a tutorial how best to reach out for a one-to-one session? Just drop me a DM or an email. I'll put my email in the Zoom. I wouldn't recommend leveraging for anybody because it's very, very risky. So it's definitely not a recommendation, but the opportunity exists. And would you do it at this part of the cycle? Well, it would be better to do it yesterday or 18 months ago, but better to do it now than in a month's time, right? So it's all about risk reward, and that's a personal decision that needs to be made. Cal, thoughts on Binance continued growth, even though it went parabolic, given the Coinbase IPO? I wouldn't say it's gone parabolic yet, to be honest with you. Crypto parabolic is a completely different kettle of fish. You know, multiple 50% up days in a row, that is parabolic. I just think it's performed really, really strongly. It's still only a quarter of the size of Ethereum, so it's got room to grow. I put out a tweet this morning saying anybody taking profits here is going to regret it. Yeah, given, I don't know what you mean by given the Coinbase IPO, so let me know if there's something else you want me to cover. Emma and Flower Perry, when is the correction going to happen? I expect that we make our next leg up over the course of the next few weeks. Some people are saying $78,000 to $80,000. I think it's going to be more like $90,000, and at that point there'll be a correction. We can't go up in a straight line, so you always have to expect 30 to 40% pullback. Just look at 2017. We've only had one 30% pullback so far, really. So we're going to get maybe 3 more before September. So you always need to be ready. Cats. So if I understand this right, looking at up to 90K in the next couple of weeks, so that's end of April. Yeah, could bleed into May, but yeah. And then we'll see a 30 to 40% pullback. Yeah, that's my base case. Look, the caveat to all of this is our predictions for September are very strong. And we're right on track with what I put together 1 year ago, right? With there or thereabouts. When we start talking shorter term, then it's harder to be as exact. If it was easy to be exact shorter term, I'd already be a billionaire, right? And I'm not a billionaire. So, yet, exactly. So when I'm talking about the short term, I'm storytelling for you. I'm painting a picture, because you need to know that there's going to be a 30 to 40% pullback, because everybody was flapping last week and we were down 15%, right? So you need to be mentally prepared. You also need to be, there's also a lot of people still asking me, should I wait for a dip, right? I'm telling you it's going to 90,000 if you're following me, to make sure that you're not waiting for a dip, because you're going to wake up and we'll be gone, right? We'll already be on the moon and you'll still be here. So that's why I paint the picture for you. The shorter term, it's harder to be perfectly accurate, which is what I said at the beginning of this call, right? So take it for what it's meant, you know, just some color, but don't hold me to the short term stuff. But Cat, yeah, that's basically my base case. After a 4 to 5 week correction, well, that would put us into June, like you said, and then you got June, July, August, September to go from 60K or 65K to 300K or 350K. Yeah, that's the parabolic stage. That's what happens. Look at 2017. That's exactly what happened. Kurt, bases today, what is the peak value going to be in the end? So definitely watch the course, because it's in there. The target is $296,000. I go through all of my calculations in the course, and I may update that at some point after we've had the next leg up and the correction. I'll be reevaluating all of the numbers, and I'll let you know if that changes. But 296k is the target. Cat, what is the exit strategy that avoids capital gains tax? You're right in your brackets. There is no strategy to avoid capital gains tax other than not selling. So that's the strategy. Hold until 2025 if you don't want to pay tax. And then in 2025, you'll have to hold until 2029 if you don't want to pay tax. And so on and so forth. So you have to pay tax on gains. I'm talking about the UK, by the way. I know not everybody's from the UK, so you'll have to do your own research on your tax policies. Carlos, Binance is creating stock tokens that might be plausible alternative to gold investments. Correct, I covered that at the beginning. You know, they're leading with Tesla for obvious reasons. So it could be very plausible. Binance are not the only ones. Synthetics is the biggest blockchain for, you know, synthetic investments, and there are many others. And I have been saying in this session, by the time we get to September, there will be a range of options. They're all coming to market now. With every bull market, there's more investment and more innovation. So they're all coming to market. And I'll be doing more work closer to the time to lay out all of the options for you. Cat, if you had £1,000 to use as a silver bullet to try and double, triple your money in this alt market over the next couple of months, which altcoin would you choose? I won't get into specifics on numbers or doubling or tripling. My favorites, I lay out all of the time in these sessions and on my videos. So there isn't one that I could recommend because it depends on your portfolio, your risk appetite. Check out my videos every day. I'm literally name dropping altcoins, and you can sign up to the Crypto Insiders list if you want specific altcoin picks, because that's what it's for. Yeah, to be honest, if you're looking at doubling and tripling your money, that should not be difficult in this altcoin market. Pick a decent project and don't chase overhyped coins such as XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, Tron. Kurt, VET line to Amazon. Cool. I would, you know, I would dig deeper into what that actually means. I would have thought Amazon would just be creating their own, because that's what they do. They buy companies and innovate and take over the world, right? We know that about Amazon. So what does that partnership actually look like? That would be really important for me to understand. Justina, yeah, look, VeChain's gone up a lot. There's a lot of coins that I don't like that go up a lot. In fact, you know, the scam coins generally pump harder than the other ones before the rug gets pulled. So that's why you see, for example, the massive move in XRP. Jack, the graph and algo charts look bullish, ready to explode or in line with the alt market. Yeah, I love the graph. I think the graph has a long way to go to the upside. It's been consolidating for a while, looks great today. I don't know about algo, I just don't follow it. But the graph is an incredible project and is just integrating with every single decentralized application out there. So very bullish on the graph. Thanks, Kurt. Maria, are there secure online wallets for Bitcoin once bought via Binance? Yeah, there are for sure. MetaMask is very well renowned and used, and I know there are many others. It's a huge market. MetaMask is the one that I'm comfortable with, so that's what I would recommend. Trezor and Ledger Nano for hardware wallets. Alex, if you want to exit BTC into Pax Gold, is it better to sell BTC to fiat than buy Pax Gold, or direct Bitcoin to Pax Gold? The second, you can just buy it with Bitcoin. There's no need to do that extra transaction and pay another % in transaction fees, so you can just go direct. Maria, I would for most newbies, we talk about this most weeks, I recommend Binance and turning on all of your security features. I just find that a lot of people, that next step around getting an extra wallet and sending stuff back and forth is a bit off-putting for most inexperienced investors, and understandably so. And Binance and Coinbase are extremely secure if you have your security settings turned on. Alex, do you have to pay the fees associated with Pax Gold if you buy on Binance? You have to pay some ETH if you buy direct, I believe. It sounds like you know more than I do on Pax Gold. But if you buy tokens on Binance, that is all usually wrapped into the Binance trading fee. So they absorb all of that stuff. So if it's through Binance, I don't think there's any extra charges. Okay, come into Insta. Let's have a look. So, so are we supposed to hold for long term or exit and buy at dips? Depends what you mean by long term, but our core strategy is holding until September. That is around the cycle peak. That's what we're looking at. I'm definitely not suggesting, even when I talk about what I expect in the next couple of months, I'm not expecting you to go and trade that, because it is way too difficult and you're going to make mistakes. So I'm looking at September. I don't know if that's what you mean by long term. I wouldn't be exiting in and out. I wouldn't be buying dips unless you get paid or you come into some money and you see that Bitcoin's down 10%, right? Then of course go and buy that dip. But like I said earlier, I wouldn't be waiting to buy dips. Steph, should we get a Ledger wallet, or is it okay leaving crypto in apps such as Coinbase? Just be careful which app. I believe Coinbase and Binance are safe if you have all of your security features turned on. I wouldn't be leaving them on all sorts of random apps out there. If you want that final level of security, yeah, you can get a Ledger wallet as well. But I don't think it's critical. Coinbase and Binance are massive companies. Coinbase have got their IPO. Binance is 5 times the volume. They're not in the business of losing people's cryptos. So the only way you could lose it is if you make a mistake with your passwords and not having your security features turned on. So as long as you've got all that sorted, I expect you'll be safe. Lake, how will you know that we've hit the top of this bull cycle? I answered exactly that question slightly earlier. So I will post this, and then just, it was fairly near the beginning, probably 10 to probably 15 minutes in. So do go and have a look at that. it's also covered in the course, so make sure you go and watch the Bitcoin playbook. Kate, why do some people talk of end of year price predictions at end of 2021 if the blow off top is October-ish? That's because not everybody has the same predictions. And most people that are talking about December, I think they're being extremely naive, and they're literally looking at 2017 and saying the peak was in December of 2017 and December of 2013. So it's going to be in December of 2021. But it's fairly obvious to anybody that there's a little bit of analysis that the halving was 2 months earlier this time. So the halving was in May, but in 2016 it was in July. So it's actually 2.5 months. We're about 2.5 months earlier. So that's putting us around September, October-ish. And I go through those calculations in the course. You know, if they think it's going to be December, then they may get left holding on the way down. That would be a shame for them. But like I said earlier as well, we'll be looking at the price action. If we're going up gradually in September and October, then it's not the peak, and they're right. And then we'll have the blow off top in December. So we look at both and we get a feel for where we're at. But anybody that's saying December, I think is going to get hurt, I believe. Bernie, thoughts on Pirate Chain? I love Pirate Chain. It's a new love, and it's because I attended Acapulco 4-day conference for anarcho-capitalists, and it was sponsored by Pirate Chain, and they had some amazing talks by the founders of Pirate Chain. And yeah, I'm well on board with the concept of Pirate Chain and why it's important. Privacy, by the way. Will is moving to a country where there's no capital gains tax. Amazing. Let us know which one, and we'll all come and join. I am looking at that myself. Any penny stocks for short-term gains? I think you might be on the wrong channel. This is crypto and not stocks. Will, why can you have an all-time high in Bitcoin in pounds and not have it in dollars? That's due to currency fluctuations. So the dollar has got stronger in the past few months, and therefore, you know, requires Bitcoin to go up a little bit more to get to that all-time high. And the pound has been weaker. So I didn't actually know that we had a new all-time high in pounds earlier today, and that, I guess that was earlier today, and that just goes to show that nobody tracks it in pounds. I'm afraid the market tracks it in dollars, so that's why I'm always talking about dollars. Kurt, is it wise or better to leave coins on Binance till 2025? That's a really good question. If you're planning to hold through 2025, and in that particular instance, I would probably say no, right? Because just if it's going to be that long, you're obviously not going to be buying and selling. So you might as well figure out a hardware wallet and put your Bitcoin on. You might as well, for whatever minuscule, in my opinion, increase or decrease in risk, you may as well get yourself a 60 quid hardware wallet and get your Bitcoin on if you're not going to touch it for 4 years. Maria, I have ETH in my token pocket. I have no idea what that is, I'm afraid. After I bought on crypto.com, I've never used crypto.com, so I don't know. Should I move it all to be in Binance once I've bought my Bitcoin, or is that not even possible? I don't know what's possible. I'm sorry. One of the reasons why I don't recommend crypto.com is because I have heard people struggling to deposit and withdraw crypto from it. So you'll have to figure out whether it's possible. But if you're about to buy Bitcoin, why don't you just buy it on Binance? I don't know why you would continue using it if you want, yeah, but it's not what I recommend. Emma, when it comes to September, are we taking profits out to keep our Bitcoin ownership or just completely selling? So what I recommend in the course is that you leave 10% in Bitcoin, and that is for the possibility that the model breaks to the upside and goes straight to $1 million. You wouldn't want to be on the sidelines. I place a 1% chance of that happening. So if you leave in 10%, then you're covered and you're holding until 2025. I don't believe anybody should be completely out of Bitcoin at this stage, given what's happening to the global monetary system. I wouldn't ever completely leave crypto or ever completely leave Bitcoin. And that is if you are doing a take profit strategy. Like I said before, it's fine to be buying and holding till 2025 as well. That's a good strategy. Do you think DeFi is just another way of the system captivating us in the system itself? As you step aside, we are all learning how to use the system, but it's still a system. We are still enslaved to it. Okay, how do I break that one down? I understand what you're saying, because a lot of the DeFi world is being built or associated with Finance 1.0. So I would suggest picking your allegiances wisely. DeFi is a broad space. There are very, very decentralized projects, such as, I think the likes of Uniswap and Bancor are very decentralized. So I assume from your question, this is what you're trying to achieve. You want to move away as much as possible from the current system, which I'm completely on board with, by the way. At the same time, it can be useful for a lot of people to have a jumping off point. That's not the right word, to take it in steps. So we know moving out of traditional banking to crypto is a huge step in itself. I've spoken to so many people now. It's a massive step, and thankfully loads of people are taking it. But would they be taking it if they didn't have Coinbase and Binance? No, they wouldn't, right? So, and some of these other centralized, decentralized platforms, the likes of Compound and Aave, they're very traditional financy. So it's a stepping stone. There are lots of projects in DeFi, and they cross the spectrum of how decentralized and how much of an escape from the current system they are. And those that are willing to take on more risk and be more technical are more willing to go further away from the current system. It's a very, very big positive that this all exists. I've been saying to a lot of people recently, can you imagine what the world would look like right now if Bitcoin and crypto didn't exist, right? It's a one ray of hope for many, many people. So I think let's be grateful for that. DeFi is a big part of that. Yes, there are centralized elements to it. Yes, there are some things that you don't like from the current system are going to reach their claws into the new system. You're not going to avoid that. But if you're moving in the right direction, we're all forcing change by doing this, which is incredible. I would continue to do that and just be very, very conscious of, which projects you're choosing. And if this is important to you, Perry, I love that. It's important to me as well. And then you can continue to make decisions that are aligned with, with your outlook on the world. I understand what you're saying. It makes sense. I see a lot of people throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Which, I would relate that as well to when people talk about Bitcoin and climate change, or Bitcoin being run and owned by the Chinese, right? A lot of that is really trying to attack something that's actually pulling the world in a positive direction. So as long as we're moving in the right direction, I think it's positive, because we know that there are other forces that are trying to take us in the other direction. So let's not attack the positive as well. But be very conscious of what you're using and getting into. I think that's very sensible, and have good open dialogue about it. My phone's going crazy at the top. I hope I'm still live. Dean, what do you think the odds are of stable coins losing their peg? Losing their peg. I'm not sure I'm following you. Stable coins should be backed one-to-one with their fiat version. The one everybody was worried about was Tether. Loads of FUD around Tether. Also, actually, an investigation into Tether. And Tether have just had an independent audit, and they're safe. They're backed one-to-one. So that was the one that everybody was worried about, and Tether's fine. So I wouldn't worry about. So I haven't seen anything that would concern me about stablecoins, particularly after the Tether audit came back clean. Nick, do you know much about VRA? I don't know. I don't know what VRA is. You're not getting any sound. Okay. Back? Oh, back. Good. Good. I was off Instagram. Now I'm back on Instagram. I think we're nearly there. Fabian, you're right. I don't think I've answered your questions. Let me find them 1 second. Questions about Bancor staking. I haven't used it myself, but it is one of those platforms like BlockFi that I've only heard positive feedback on. So I would be tempted to be very bullish on Bancor staking. And can I give an opinion on decentralized insurances like DIP? Insurance is a huge industry. Decentralized insurance is going to be an incredibly massive area in the crypto world. I have heard good things about DIP. If one very obvious insurance is to insure your crypto. A lot of the questions I get are about security, right? So if you can buy insurance on your crypto, especially as you start to make lots of it, or it goes up a lot in value, then that seems, very, very sensible. I have heard good things about DIP. I know there are many more though, and I don't know what they are. So I haven't looked into the area in depth, but I'm bullish on decentralized insurance for sure. Kurt, any comments on Litecoin? Is it past its glory days? Did it ever have its glory days? for me, glory days isn't getting pumped and then crashing. Glory days is adding value to the world. So for me, I'm very bearish on Litecoin. I think that's it. Sorry that Instagram lost me for a second, but I will be posting the full video on YouTube as well, if you want to have a look at that couple of minutes that I was mute. Thank you. It's great to be back. Really enjoyed the session. Hope you have an amazing week. Hope we see Bitcoin all-time high this week. That would be lovely. And I will see you back here next week, this time next week. Thank you. See you later.